All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And we are on our first podcast here at Foundations for Living.
Yes.
Now, the key for us to make this podcast is to try and not make it like the delicious dish or we're, NPR radio sort of thing.
Really? I was bringing my NPR voice.
Yes. Good times. Good times. But anyways, we're welcome you to our Foundations for Living podcast, Firm Foundations. And certainly if you are watching and want to be a part of the program, then by all means, comment. We would like to hear from you. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and feel free to comment. But, Michael, I thought what we would do is introduce ourselves first of all. And so I'm the executive director here at Foundations, and
I'm the associate director here at Foundations.
There you go. And over the weeks to come, perhaps we'll have more guests on and be able to talk to them. And what we're hoping to do with this podcast is to just educate, talk about everything going on, and I think first and foremost is why does Wapaka have a homeless program?
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's not. There's no good generic answer to that, but also it's just one of those things that most people don't even know that there is a homeless program, or that there is homelessness, or that there would be any need for such a thing. So the education piece is good, because I don't think that most of those in our community have any idea that there's homeless people here, that there's even a warming shelter in the winter, why we would need that. It's just not something that is common knowledge in our area.
Yeah, I think with homelessness, with any city. So I have a good friend in Nashville. They do a homeless ministry there, and granted, the homeless rate there is much larger, but even there, like that city, they try to do their best to say, nope, everything's good, everything's fine. And what they find is that the people they've been serving, if there's a big event in town, Super Bowl or whatever, they ship them off to Chattanooga or something like that and just kind of brush it under. But the fact is, it's there.
It's there. And I think when I first got involved in Foundations for Living, I had lived here previously. We had been gone for a while and moved back, and the Acreites introduced us to Foundations for Living, and I just couldn't compute those two things together, that we would have homelessness here. And in that same year, I went into the gas station just down the road from here, and there was a newspaper article that was basically declaring there was no homelessness here.
Oh.
And so it was kind of like, okay, so what's the real story? So that's kind of how I got involved, was I want to see for myself,
right,
and just see it. Then all of a sudden, when the doors opened, how many people came in, and I was shocked.
Yeah, it's like telling somebody their house is on fire. You're like, nope, it's not. I'm not turning around to look. But it really is the case. And again, if you're joining us, this is something new for us, something new for you. So feel free to comment, and we'll put it up on the screen so that we can say hi and we can answer questions. One of the question that I get, not all the time, but a decent amount of time, is, how do we fund all of this? And, there's an important part to Foundations for Living that we are able to give out vouchers. We do, what do? We do rent.
We do gas, we do food services, those kind of things. There's really any kind of need that a person has. With the help of Salvation Army, we can go to different vendors. So if it's like a local vendor like L&L Propane, or a more bigger provider such as We Energies, they can help with those expenses by issuing them a voucher, and that goes directly to the vendor, so that it's not just being like something like cash being handed out to someone that walks in the door who is in need.
Because and that's the other side of what we do. There's a lot of people in crisis mode. They may even, some have addictions and stuff. So we don't necessarily just give out cash, but rather we do work closely with the Salvation Army.
Yeah, Salvation Army. We're a hub for the Salvation Army in Wapaka County. There's one other one that's just on the other side of the border in New London. So we kind of work hand in hand. They're in our area, but really that's it. And so when someone needs something, it's a blessing to be able to work with the Salvation Army that closely, because then it's not something we have to directly raise funds for.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot of people. I mean, it's several $100,000 a year, and this is all money mostly being raised through just the kettle ringing over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize just how much that helps. I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of people in our county every year that come through the doors needing just a little bit of a hand up. And like you mentioned before, these are people that typically, there's something else going on outside of, I just need my electricity paid. Not that there aren't those circumstances or situations,
there are.
but oftentimes there are cofactors, and it just seems to be what we do, even though we weren't really set up or intended to be an addiction recovery resource. That just tends to be the direction that it seems to go in.
Well, I mean, not to broad stroke everything, but it seems like, somebody that's hurting mentally, financially, everything, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that can be linked back to an addiction. And so that kind of, by default, you have to work with that as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of like chicken and egg. What came first? Was it the addiction, or was it the poverty? I mean, sometimes it's generational poverty, sometimes it's generational addiction. But either way, they're 99% of the time, I would say, maybe in the last 3 years, out of the dozens of people we've had come in, maybe one or two it has not been as a result of some sort of addiction, or that hasn't been part of the mix anyways. So it's just very rare that we would have someone come in that isn't an issue. But that doesn't mean that is what the underlying issue is.
Right. Yeah. And I had a friend that posted on Facebook that they went on Amazon and ordered a chicken and an egg, and they're gonna see which one really does come first.
Well, I'd like the answer to that one.
So, and that is a huge part. So we have the warming shelter season, and that runs from November 1st to April 30th. Now, this was my first warming shelter season, and it heavily depends on volunteers to run it.
Yeah, absolutely. This was my third season.
Okay.
The first season was right on the edge of COVID, right before COVID hit. And so I was kind of given the responsibility to manage the volunteers. It was something that some long-term volunteers of ours had done. And it was, for the first half of the season, it was great. We had probably 15 different volunteers. You'd email out a schedule, they'd show up, and then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we found out very quickly how the volunteer force can directly impact what we have to do on a daily basis, because it came down to basically myself and our former executive director. She would stay here during the day and I would come at night. Wow. And so it was one of those eye-opening experiences, like, wow, we really do depend on these volunteers. We really do need these volunteers, and they mean so much to us. They just are kind of our heart and soul.
Yeah, they are. And we're out of warming shelter season, but it's rapidly approaching. But the other facets of Foundations for Living that we rely on volunteers is the Thrift Store, which is open Wednesday through Friday and Saturday as well. Don't ask me to repeat the hours. I've been messing it up on the graphics, so maybe That's right. So it's Wednesday through Friday, it's open from 9 to 4, and then Saturday is open from 9 to 2. Okay. So
if that's not right, Jane will let us know.
She will.
She'll send a strongly worded letter.
Yeah, she's right outside the door, so
waiting for us.
And so they're always looking for volunteers to help in the Thrift Store Center. Yes, Thrift Store, because I mean, it's been seeing a good summer so far. The people are discovering this thrift store, and a lot of people knew about it, but it seems more and more. And I find it interesting. Like my mom, when she was around, and my aunts, they would just pick Saturday and go thrifting.
Yeah.
And it's actually become kind of a, dare say, millennial thing.
It has, but it's cool. It's hip, right? Is that the word?
That's what all the kids are saying these days,
right? Yeah, and it's amazing, because it's really a kind of a gem in WPAC as far as the thrift store is concerned, because they have really good stuff. It's not junk. We go through it. Jane is meticulous when it comes to what she's putting out on the shelves. And I'm surprised. I'd say probably 90% of my really fancy wardrobe, except this one's from church, but other than this, most of my wardrobe is from the thrift store here, because it is such good quality and it's very affordable. And I think that's what's led to that. You've seen more and more people come, and so that kind of harkens back to the need for more volunteers.
Yep, it does. And what's cool about the thrift store is so people can donate to the thrift store. We take donations, and what we sell here goes right back into the program. So people can come in, they can donate, but if they donate to a specific cause, like they want this for warming shelter, we'll make sure it's used that way. But then there's the other side of the thrift store, and that's our vouchers. What have we had? Like 2 or 3 families that their houses burnt down recently.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely been a lot recently. And so when that happens, the fine folks at the fire department and police department and our Waupaca County Sheriff's Department know that they can send them to us.
Yeah.
They come in the front door. It's a real quick process. They fill out one piece of paper, and then we will get them what they need. So walk them back to the store, and then people are welcome to do that Monday and Tuesday, even though the thrift store isn't open.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we can say is like, if it's a privacy issue or something like that, you just come in, fill out the piece of paper. We'll walk you through the store, get the things that they need to get through.
Because it's beyond clothing. There's utensils, there's plates, and everything back there.
Pretty much everything that you would need to get through. And oftentimes, like I said, it's also good stuff. It's not junk. So you only have to make that one trip. And as you said, that is a direct result of people coming in and shopping during the open hours. That's where that funding goes, so that other people can get what they need to survive.
Yeah. There is a classy punch bowl set back there. I'm eyeballing.
Yeah, I already got dibs on that.
There you do. Okay. Well, so yeah, I mean, that's a big part of Foundations for Living is helping people with the voucher program. And then the other side of it, so it's like 3-faceted here at Foundations. Then there's the crisis center. And that's up front. If someone comes to the door, they're going to meet Val.
Yeah.
Be ready. It's just,
Yeah. It's real. But no, Val is great at what she does, and it's really a unique job in our community because it's the front lines of people walking in the door, usually the most hurt, broken, just difficult situations that she addresses. And so she kind of wears a lot of hats. She writes vouchers. She does. She cries with them. She laughs with them and gets them the help that they need. Yeah. And,
we went through a lot of transition here at Foundations for Living. They new ED, Wilma retired. We brought Jill on as program director and case manager. If you don't know Jill and you're dealing with something where you need housing or something, she is a guru on all things government programs. But then there's Val, and Val and I go way back, probably 10, 12 years. And,
it's an 80s cover rock band, right?
It was, yeah. Full hair metal and spandex. So, that's an interesting story because where she was, she enjoyed, and all that. But she said she was looking for something with more purpose, and this opened up. And just her verbiage, and after being here, said she just feels alive again. And that really is the case with volunteering in a center like this. It's crisis moments and volunteering never come at the right time, but they are, I'll be honest with you, the first warming shelter season, I have no problem working with homeless people or anything like that, but that was a new setting for me. And, I tell you, within a week or two, those folks grew on me in the ministry, and I just, enjoyed doing it.
It's amazing to watch people come in the front door.
Yep.
Because they're in a position where they don't have anywhere to stay. We get them into the warming shelter. They go through the rules. They get something to eat, get a shower, and like you said, then they slowly sort of become family. And what's interesting, because most people are afraid of homeless people, or they have a view of them that they're laying under a bridge with a brown paper bag and they can't, talk. But oftentimes they come in the door, there starts to be some real healing, and they become family. And what amazes me the most is that we probably have a handful of those folks that have come in, now have an apartment, a job, life is going well for them, and they're back volunteering. Yeah, which is extraordinary. I don't think that you see that very often.
It is. We have one guy that's been here, and it's kind of interesting. People can, and I guess I've fed this machine too. You know, you see a homeless person driving a car and you think, oh, I thought they were homeless.
Mhm.
But really that's their livelihood. That's what they have. That is home.
And to see those people come out of that, and then the one example that I'm thinking of, now taking classes to get into pastoral ministry,
Mhm.
and I mean that's just from complete crisis to working, living in a nice apartment, having a car, able to afford food, able to make the bills, going to school to further education.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that's in the span of 6 months.
Yeah. And one guy in particular, he had his car here and stuff, but he started attending the church that I pastor, and he likes to just come sit, and recently just started giving a little bit, and it's just encouraging to see people do that. And I'll never forget, it's my first time I experienced someone getting a voucher. We had that lady that was here in the early part, and you actually had the good news that she got a voucher. You walked out to her car when she was checking into the warming shelter, and you told her, and she just broke down in tears.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of help that's out there, and they just don't know how to get it, or
Mhm.
where to even start. And it is overwhelming sitting with Jill and doing that paperwork. That's an hour. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of writing and a lot of questions and a lot of digging up bones.
You're right.
And so it is a difficult situation. And so when they see that breakthrough come, it just changes their lives. And I will say, like you mentioned, Jill being a guru with that stuff, that's the key, because as an average person walking into, not only are you homeless and you're broke, and maybe you have an addiction or
Yeah.
whatever, a relationship is falling apart, or all of those things, and then you sit down to try and figure out how you're going to get out of that. That's where Jill's expertise comes in. It's just invaluable, because she knows exactly the right program to apply for, exactly the right time,
Yeah.
and how to get it done. Which is we're very lucky to have her here and have someone that knows how to get through those hoops.
Right.
What she does.
And so we do the vouchers, we do clothes, we do all those things, and we even do hygiene, male hygiene, female hygiene, family hygiene. Again, if you're watching this, you're going to watch a rebroadcast of it, and you're going through a moment like that where you need help. I can honestly tell you, I haven't even been here a year yet, but I can tell you that you can come in here and maintain a sense of dignity. We treat everybody as our best friend, and we're here to help you out. So again, you can definitely come in and chat with Val or any of us, really.
Yeah.
We'll get you in that direction.
I think that's the point, is to when someone has an appointment, all of us have different passions and gifts and
Mhm.
personalities, and so we're all going to relate to people differently. And I think it's just a good mix, because usually there's somebody in the office that is going to be able to relate and dig in and be able to help them get through whatever's going on.
Yeah. So what else do we have going on at Foundations? We have those are the three main facets. Did I miss anything? I have dad brain.
Yeah, I get it.
End of the school year.
2 a.m. was
You're lacking sleep.
We just added recently the recovery coaching side of things. So that's a service that we offer for free to anybody that is working through an addiction, or working through any kind of anything that kind of demands the word recovery, even if
Okay.
that's an emotional issue,
Gambling. Okay.
or whatever it might be. And that's just providing a person to walk alongside of them as they go through trying to figure out what the next steps are.
And that's pretty exciting, because you guys just went through all the training.
We just went through the training. It was a really good course that we went through. We partnered with Wishhope, another organization here in Wapaka County, and they really taught us well how to walk alongside people. And what we found out was that that's typically on average between $50 and $75 an hour.
Okay.
And that's a service that we can provide for free to anyone in the community, which is, that's why we do what we do,
Right.
obviously. But there's a lot of people that are in our drug court program. Another thing that we're heavily invested in is going and working with the people in drug court and helping them sort of navigate, all right, what's next? What's the next step? How do you stay sober one more day? How do you get through this? And now
there's a misconception there that, people that haven't helped somebody like that, or haven't been through an addiction, can we get snarky?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the church world, let's just talk to them for a little bit, give them a couple bucks, pray up for them, and they're good. That's not the case.
No, it's got to be. One of my least favorite phrases is "I'll pray for you," and
thoughts and prayers.
So I would much rather say, "I'm going to pray for you now," and then we're going to do something.
Yeah.
And that coaching provides that opportunity to walk with them and deal with whatever is going on.
Mm.
And it's especially you get into the drug court side of things. Those folks are looking at 15, 20 meetings a week. They have to drive in and do drug tests every morning. It's a lot. And so for them to have somebody on their side changes things.
And just to back up, drug court, because I didn't know that when I first got here. Drug court, you physically go to the courthouse on Wednesdays.
Yes. Yep. So there's quite a number of folks enrolled at any given time. They get selected by the county judges. And so on Wednesdays we go in, we sit down, there's the judge and the police chief and someone from Aspirus and someone from the DMV, and there's just a whole list of people in that room. And then I'm there as the kind of someone that's overseeing the recovery coach side of things. Okay. And it's just basically a discussion on how to help those that are in the program to get to the next step. And then those that are in the program go in and sit down and, one by one, they come and explain to the judge, this is what I've done this week. These are the meetings I've been to. Here's where I've fallen backwards and here's where I need help. And I really have to hand it to Wapaka County and the people, the judge and those that are in that group, because they really are looking out for the person's best interest.
Yeah.
And they go above and beyond to try and help instead of just slapping on fines and jail sentences and just kick them out of the court and get them into the jail. They're really making a big difference in our community.
That's cool. It's good to have a program like that because there are a lot of them just lock them away and be done with it. And Wapaka is very forgiving, and you're almost like the father figure when they come out of the courtroom to come to you and just chat and talk. And
so we talk, and then Jan Blom, who's been involved in the drug court side of things for a long time. She has a fellowship that she does right after drug court, and we go downstairs or wherever the room is that week and just talk. And Jan bakes and
Nice.
and brings water and candy. And there's been times where Jan's been out of town, and I was told that Quick Trip Bakery is not really an acceptable substitute. And
Jan set the bar.
And apparently she loves on them a lot better than I do. So they really miss her when she's gone. And
she is the grandmotherly type.
She is. Yeah, absolutely. But it's a great program.
That's cool. So you got the recovery coach, got drug court, and there's classes here that go on. One that comes to mind is the men's Bible study on Thursday nights. That's always a big one.
Yes.
So there's lads.
Someone should donate $100 for a new outlet to install it. So the Thursday study group is great. It's a guys group. We just get together and share what we're reading and what's on our hearts, and kind of go back to the Bible and look over that. AA on Tuesday and Saturday. They use our facility, and it's great to have them here because when the guys are in the warming shelter, they don't have to go across town to hit a AA meeting. It's right here.
Yeah.
And Fresh Hope, Jill's been leading that on Sunday afternoons. It's been really good, and we want to do more. We're talking about parenting classes and other things that we can get up and running that the county can send people to. That.
And we have a teacher for changes, so it's just a matter of getting that implemented, and people that want to do it. And so those are all opportunities that if you have the gift of teaching or you like to be with people, you can also volunteer to teach a class here at, we would welcome a nutrition one or any topic really that would be beneficial to people in their day-to-day lives. So in the last few minutes, if anybody that's watching wants to comment or ask a question, we'd certainly welcome that, and we can put it up on the screen. But that was my Apple charger that fell out of there. And Apple makes these larger than life bricks. You got to plug into the wall and it just falls out.
5 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for someone that might be able to teach financial peace or some kind of budgeting. That would be amazing, and or just volunteer for some of the things that we already have going on, whether it's Thrift Store or front office or recovery coaching. You know, we'll take volunteers and train them to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And our heart is that we would be sort of holistic in that, where it's not just, okay, we're going to focus on drinking or drugs or poverty, or we want to see a whole holistic approach to that.
That's really where the mind goes when if they don't know Foundations for Living or other programs like this, they just think right away, you know, the darkest stuff. And that really isn't the case. Sometimes it's a single guy that's just lonely, depressed, and needs a group to be with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the misconceptions, I think, are either, you know, these are where the drug dealers with, you know, semi-automatic machine guns and meth hang out, like during the winter time. And the other misconception is that we're a church. Sometimes that's kind of what people, oh, you're a church. We're like, no, we're not a church. We are a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to helping our community see healing and growth and restoration. And we do that, you know, by sharing the principles of the gospel. But that isn't our, I guess I would say, primary motivator. Our primary motivator is to be the hands and feet and love on these people and get them to a better place.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that would, before I started here, well, quite a few years ago, I thought this was a church, and really we try to work with all churches. We, you know, some of the things we have coming up is the parade. Yeah. We're doing the Mano Rodeo Parade. We'll have a float in there. We'll be in the 4th of July Day Parade. We'll be at Strawberry Fest, stop by the booth.
Yes.
The Timber Rattlers over in Appleton, they've given us a Foundations for Living night.
It's superhero night, right?
It is. Marvel. Iron Man will be there.
Excited. Milo's ready to go today.
There you go. If you want tickets to that, go to our Facebook page and you'll see all the information. It's $15. You get a tailgate dinner. You're going to walk right past our table to go into the stadium. And if you have kids with you, they can reach into Thor's hammer and pull out a prize. So, but then we're also doing Foundations Fest. Yeah. And I guess that's the roundabout way of where I was wanting to go. But we're going to be inviting churches just to come out and promote their service, you know, and their church. And because I know with pastoring the Radiant Fellowship, if I'm talking to somebody and they're looking for a Lutheran church, well, I'm not necessarily going to point them to Radiant. I'm going to point them to one of the Lutheran churches in town. And so it's good to have representation from all the churches, you know, in our area. And so if any pastors are watching this, check your email in next week. You'll be getting some information. So. And
I think it's great. It's a great partnership, not just for us, but you know, maybe as a pastor of a church, you know, the money doesn't grow on trees,
right? And
so why try and duplicate something? You know, if you're like, oh, we need to focus on this specific thing, well, make sure that someone else isn't doing it already, right?
Right.
And then what's nice about us is there are a lot of those things that we are already doing. Take the burden off. Hey, you don't have to do that program. It's already happening here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I go to different churches. We have people from all sorts of churches, denominations that are here, and that's the heart, is like get it all together as one kind of primary hub and serve our community.
You make a good point, because a lot of churches will, in Radiant's been there, we want to start a food pantry, you know, or clothing, you know, something like, you know, clothing store, and it's going already, you know, and you know, we welcome all the churches, you know, to do that. And well, when we can, we give credit where credit's due, and it's just pastors don't reinvent the wheel.
No,
you know,
it's too expensive.
Tires
are expensive now.
And value your time. Don't put it into that. Let Foundations for Living do that. So, well, any closing remarks? And we have a few viewers, but they're the silent type.
That's the quiet type. Well, it's good to be able to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And get people to get to know us just a little bit better, and look forward to seeing this grow in the future, the podcast, and who we might have for guests. I hear it's a great paying position. I think you get free coffee. So I'm excited to see who takes that bait and comes on board, and what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and so watch for this the rebroadcast here on Facebook, on our YouTube channel. And it's also going to be in podcast form, just audio on our website. Give us a day or two, we'll get the widget up there and the plug-in, I guess you could say, for that. But then after about 4 or 5 episodes in, it'll start showing up in podcast stores and where you can listen to podcasts.
Yeah, any podcast app, Apple Podcasts, any of those places that any of you podcast junkies
That's right.
know where to go to get them episodes.
And if you're a true saint, you just go to the Apple Store.
Yeah, right.
So, all right. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.